Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to the final week of a new BookTube event, Dune in June, where we read Frank Herbert's science fiction masterpiece, Dune, in the month of June. Now, if you're following the strict timeline of Dune in June, you're already done reading the book, and you are now thinking about it, and maybe rewatching some of the movie versions, or studying the appendices, or maybe rereading your favorite parts. But in the course of doing Dune in June, I have stumbled backwards into a read along of Dune that will outlast the event. Of course, it will outlast the summer. We will go through this chapter by chapter. We're going through this chapter by chapter, which is a lot of fun for me, and a lot of you have said that you're enjoying it too. So great, we will continue. The last chapter that we saw was Duke Leto Atreides, the head of House Atreides, who's been ordered by the Emperor to take over the planet Dune from House Harkonnen, his sworn enemies. They have vacated, and the Atreides moved in. He finally has all of his people moved over from their previous planet. They are all now on Dune. So he has a staff meeting, which, again, like I said last time, that sounds like a death knell for a novel, unless you know how talented Frank Herbert is. He is so talented that when you know how talented he is, if you hear that Frank Herbert has written a staff meeting scene, you're going to be excited, not dismayed. It was wonderful, but dismaying, because it isn't a successful staff meeting. As our viewpoint on that chapter, Paul Atreides, the Duke's heir, sees perfectly clearly. The men are upset, things are not going well for House Atreides, and the meeting does not end well. It ends at cross purposes. Partially, there are many reasons for it, but partially because there is an element of unsettled issues between the Duke and his mentat, Thufir Hawat. A mentat assassin who has served House Atreides for 3 generations. He is a master of security and counter-security, of insurgency and counter-insurgency, of espionage. He's the Duke's brain. Almost quite literally, because mentats in this future science fiction universe take the place of AI. They take the place of advanced computers. There are no advanced thinking or allegorizing computers here. Instead, they are the humans trained to do that, who are called mentats. And Thufir Hawat is a mentat of long, long experience, who has nevertheless messed up. He and his men were meant to assess the new palace at Arrakeen for threats to the family, booby traps left behind by the Harkonnens, and Thufir Hawat misses one that was specifically designed to kill the heir. It's just a fluke chance that young Paul Atreides is able to save his own life. And you could argue, I think, that Thufir Hawat failed in another way too, a far more fundamental way, which is that he does not see the extent of the Harkonnen plot to destroy House Atreides. The broad outlines of the plot are known. The Duke recites them to his men, to his assistants at that staff meeting, that the Harkonnen will strike militarily in defiance of the rules of a changeover of households, and that they will use disguised Sardaukar soldiers, the Imperial Death Squad of the Emperor himself, which is certainly not anything that the Emperor would want known, and that is not cricket. That is the broad stroke of the plan. And we, as readers of this book, and now if you're doing Dune in June, you must be finished with this by now, we as readers of this book know that that is the plan. There are 2 elements of the plan that Duke Leto doesn't know, and they're the 2 elements that allow it to work. One is that the identity of the traitor in his household. He knows there is one, but he doesn't know who it is. And somehow, Thufir Hawat does not know who it is, when he should. And the other is the extent of the Emperor's help of House Harkonnen, which again, Thufir Hawat should know. But he does not. I'm not meaning to lay the whole of the blame of the destruction of House Atreides on one man. Not completely one man. But Thufir, in the last chapter, Thufir Hawat offers his resignation. The Duke abruptly refuses it and tells him, I know who my friends are. But it's still a cloud between them. And this chapter is the Duke going to find Thufir Hawat. It's just a conversation between the 2 of them. He finds Hawat setting up a command post, and the 2 of them get alone, and they decide to speak to each other. And the Duke knows that Hawat is disturbed, that maybe he doesn't have the Duke's full trust anymore. So he tells him that he does. decides to diffuse the situation early. And he also tells Hawat the details of the threats that have been posed against him. I remember earlier in the book we learned from a couple of different sources that confirm that there is a traitor in the House Atreides, and that the traitor is someone closely placed to the Duke. Now, we know who that traitor is. Frank Herbert does not. That is not a big reveal of this book. We know who it is. It's the doctor. It's the family doctor, Dr. Yua. But they don't know that. And all kinds of emphasis is being placed elsewhere to put suspicion on other people, including in this chapter. And we're given the detail here. Again, I don't mean just to bash on Thufir Hawat, but we're given the detail in this chapter that we're reading today, that learning all this new information does not send Hawat into what's called a mentat trance. It does not cause him to go into mentat mode and start analyzing what all this means. Instead, it just agitates him. It makes him more and more upset, which, you don't need to pay what I assume is top dollar for a mentat in order to upset someone. Anyone can be upset. He doesn't function as a mentat in this scene right when you'd think he would. And the Duke doesn't even seem to notice. He doesn't even seem to notice that this guy is not performing his number one function. And the news of the plots coincides with news that Hawat has for the Duke. That is a gut punch to him. Hawat has intercepted a portion of a secret Harkonnen message that also speaks of betrayal. But here, this message, the only part of it is preserved, and this part of the message that's preserved says that the traitor is very close to the Duke, so close in love that the mere revelation of the identity of the traitor will strike the Duke as a blow, regardless of anything the traitor does, that it will defeat him to know that this person has turned on him. Now, obviously, that can only be one person, and both Hawat and the Duke know it. Obviously, that has to be the Lady Jessica, the mother of the Duke's heir, the love of his life, not his wife. He never makes her his Duchess, but she is Bene Gesserit. She's been raised and trained by the Bene Gesserit. That automatically introduces an element of split loyalties, of doubt. We've already seen that the Lady Jessica does have split loyalties. Split loyalties are actually a bit of a theme throughout this book, but I don't want to harp on themes because I'm not a dude bro. We will get to it, but split loyalties run all throughout here. It's actually, again, I don't want to make a term paper out of it, but there is a case to be made that some of the best characters in here are the ones with split loyalties. But it makes the book interesting that you with a lot of characters, you never quite know which side is going to win out. Just in the last chapter, we saw Duncan Idaho, one of Duke Leto's greatest lieutenants, pledge his loyalty to the Fremen. Split loyalty. And we are told by the Fremen that there is precedence for this because Liet serves two masters. If you're reading straightforward now and you haven't gone ahead, you don't know who Liet is. But the Fremen could say that he serves two masters. If you've read the book, you know who that is and you know the masters involved. We'll get to it. That's coming up very soon. Since Lady Jessica was trained by the Bene Gesserit, and since they have plans of their own, Hawat doesn't trust her. And this note isn't helping any. And there's, of course, the possibility that the note was meant to be found, and to sow distrust between the Duke and his foremost advisor. The Duke is outraged when he hears this from Thufir Hawat, that she's had he rants against it. She says every opportunity to kill me. A stiletto at night, in bed. Poison in my food. She's had years to kill me. And Hawat has to remind him that this is a vengeance campaign that the Harkonnens are on. They haven't just sworn to kill Duke Leto Atreides. They've sworn to destroy his household, which is a different thing. It will involve psychological elements, personal elements, betrayal elements. It's not just a knife in the bed. The Duke knows that. He knows all of this, and he knows that any information can't be discarded. This is a knife edge. He's going to have to rule here like a hawk among lesser birds. He's going to have to be harder than he ever was on his homeworld of Caladan. So he tells Thufir Hawat that he needs to think. So he stalks off and walks all around. And we don't get a lot of those scenes, but he ends up on a parapet overlooking the basin where he has taken control. It's nighttime. There are two moons in the sky, and he is looking at the shield wall, this massive fortification of stone, a natural phenomenon, but its placement is a shield against the deep desert. It's a shield against the worms. It's a shield partially against the giant storms that stalk the surface of Dune. It's the perfect place to put your palace, which is why Arakeen is there. And the Duke is surprised. He's up there with a soldier, and they're looking at the sun come up on a new day. And he's surprised by how beautiful it is. It catches him totally unawares. And I want to read you that. I haven't been reading you parts of the book, but I want to read you this. There came a long, bell-tolling movement of dawn striking across a broken horizon. It was a scene of such beauty that it caught all his attention. Some things beggar likeness, he thought. He had never imagined anything here could be as beautiful as that shattered red horizon and the purple and ochre cliffs. Beyond the landing fields where the night's faint dew had touched life into the hurried seeds of Arrakis, he saw great puddles of red blooms, and running through them, an articulate thread of violet, like a giant footsteps. It's a beautiful morning, sire, the guard said. Yes, it is, he responds. That's lovely. That the Duke, in the midst of the worst trials that he can think of, it can't be her, I know my woman, is still struck by the fact that this weird, hostile world that he hates could still be beautiful. That's a lovely moment. And it suspends all of our tensions for just another chapter. So we end on an unexpected note, which is great. That's a further demonstration of Herbert's talent. We don't see that moment coming, and neither does the Duke. So we'll wrap this up here. We have more folds of intrigue here. And we'll move on to the next chapter. I'll see you then. Thank you, BookTube.